We're on board the Polperro, one of the oldest charter boats on Victoria's Port Phillip Bay, heading towards the historic town of Sorrento. I'll be retracing the steps of William Buckley, an English convict whose story of survival inspired a popular Australian phrase. And along the way, I'll be marking the journey by dropping into as many craft beer breweries as I can. Plus, I'll be getting to meet a bunch of local legends. We're now making the exact same approach William Buckley made way back in 1803, to the shores of Cullivans Bay. And this is where our epic adventure of heroes, history and hops kicks off. 227 kilometres, 8 breweries, one incredible story. I'm Matt Stewart and this is the Beer Pioneer.
He's out there, somewhere, crossing country, north to south, east to west, following rainbows for the liquid pot of gold. The man is amber obsessed. He's conquering fears, drinking boutique beers, just for you and me. He's a man on a mission, a liquid dietitian, a bearded brewery magician. Ah, he's the beer pioneer. He is the beer pioneer. He's the beer pioneer. He's the admiral of cheer. He's the admiral of cheer. He is the amber cavalier. He's the amber cavalier. And he's the malted musketeer. He's the malted musketeer. He is the bevvy buccaneer. He's the bevvy buccaneer. Oh yes, he is the beer pioneer. Oh yes, he is.
After a cold and rainy morning out at sea, I finally arrived at Sorrento Pier. It was on this small peninsula that William Buckley, convicted of stealing a piece of cloth, was destined to serve out his time as a convict at the Cullivans settlement. Not long after arriving, William Buckley's perilous story took yet another twist. This same peninsula is also home to the St Andrews Beach Brewery, so before I begin retracing Buckley's incredible journey, I better begin my own. So we've just arrived at the St Andrews Beach Brewery and I'm here with Tim, who's going to show me around. He's, I think, the most important man here.
Okay, yeah, one of the most important.
Probably, to me, you're the most important. Do you want to show us around?
Yeah, absolutely. So I thought I'd just walk you through the beer garden just to start.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
so nice.
Yeah, it's cool. So what we've done is we've converted the old Freeman Brothers horse training facilities into the brewery. So
right, the Freeman sort of horse racing royalty.
Yeah. So
this was their place.
This was their place.
Yeah, right.
So they were down here for about 10 years.
Yeah.
And they had horses like Maccabi Diva.
Maccabi Diva was here?
Yeah. Yeah, so she won 2 of her Melbourne Cups down this way.
Holy moly.
Yeah, and then they had horses like Mummify and all those sort of champions.
Right, well that's why I've seen some of the booths, so they're converted stables.
Yeah.
Right, and that's why you've got the names.
Yeah.
They're all horses that were here.
Yeah, that's right.
Amazing.
So and so then the Freebans all sort of went their own separate ways for a couple of years.
Yep.
So the place sort of laid dormant. And then my old man with a couple of his friends took it over with the idea to turn it into the brewery.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I reckon that was a good idea.
But it's panned out to be pretty good.
Yeah? They're on to a winner. Alongside the historic stables, they've built a huge cellar door.
So when people are lining up at the bar, they can see straight through and see where the brewery is and see where the beer's getting made.
That's fresh. That's fresh beer.
Exactly.
Yeah. I keep saying it's epic. It's just I don't think I've ever been to a brewery like this.
Yeah, I'll take you into the brewery so you can have a quick look. When we first started, we had our brew house and then we had these 6 fermenters. Yeah. And then things sort of quickly ramped up and we had to up our game. So installed another 6 more tanks last year. I got another 7 or 8 on the way in the next couple of months.
Sort of lucky you got room to grow, right?
Yeah.
Because this is a big property as well.
Yeah. So we've got earmarked a whole bunch of spots where we can sort of grow into, which is nice.
While I pretend to know what I'm talking about with Tim, let's go have a look at the canning line.
So this is where we package all of our beers. It's a bit quiet today, but we usually can 3 to 4 times a week. We changed to cans sort of in October 2019, and it's made a huge difference, which is good.
Right, so it used to be Stubbies?
It used to be in Stubbies. We used to have like this old clunky bottling line, which did about 400 bottles an hour. And like this canning line now can do about 6,000 cans now.
Wow, and it just feels like the whole industry's just switched to cans in vaguely recent history.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of different reasons why. Main reasons you get to keep the beer fresher because it's like...
The light.
Yeah, because it's like airtight.
Right.
And air's like, oxygen's the worst thing for beer.
As well as keeping out things that ruin beer like air and light, those bastards, cans also recycle better and transport easier. You gotta love that.
Starts up there, it's all basically automated now. Oh. So we just put in a pallet, it comes down the race, it gets filled just here.
Yep.
It's a big like carousel looking thing where the beers go in.
Right, so just a couple of people in here
it's just
looking after the whole thing.
Yeah, it's just a 2-person job.
Amazing.
There's one last place to see that really highlights the 4-legged past of this brewery.
So now this is where the training track used to be. I gotta say, it's a fair upgrade. Horses, horse racing, now beer.
Yeah, so what we've done is, like, you don't want to waste any land, obviously. So, yeah, what we've done is we planted 6,000 apple and pear trees. So, hoping next year we'll be pumping out some cider as well.
Right, oh great.
Yeah.
What kind of apples you got? You got the Fuji's, Granny Smiths. What are you talking?
So we got...
Golden Delicious. I know, I used to work in a produce department, I know.
Yeah, well, we got the
apples.
We got the English heirloom varieties.
Oh, I haven't heard of them.
Yeah, so we got like a...
You stumped me straight away.
I love naming apples and walking around breweries, but let's be honest, I've got Buckley's chance of ever. Hey, that reminds me, William Buckley. I better go find that original settlement.
He is the beer pioneer.
I'm here at Cullivans Bay, the original landing place of William Buckley all those years ago. As I walk along, I can't help but wonder what he must have found here in 1803. Certainly not this idyllic beach paradise I find today.
Was the Akubra and Dryzerbone costume choice a little over the top? Well, it wasn't my idea, but I reckon I pulled it off. Anyway, despite what seemed like the perfect location for a settlement on the surface, the residents of Collins Settlement quickly realised its shortfalls. Barren soil, brackish water, life was tough. After just a couple of months, most of the 300 convicts at the settlement began to prepare their escapes. Yet, only one man would succeed. A few hundred metres from Sullivan's Bay is the Visitors Centre. Back in 1982, a small part of the original settlement was acquired by the state government, and along with the help of public donations, the Friends of Collins Settlement began assisting with managing the area.
And I'm here with maybe the biggest expert in the field, Keith. Hey Keith, how's it going?
Oh, thank you for that. Very good.
Keith, I played it down to be honest.
Good.
It's a real honour to be chatting with you.
Good.
Keith volunteers at the Visitors Centre on weekends, and he's the perfect person to ask about what happened here back in 1803.
It's the first British settlement in Victoria in August 1803 and only lasted till April 1804.
So it was a tough time basically.
Yes, well, their main trouble was lack of fresh water. They did stick barrels in the sand near here and they could get a bit of water seepage, but some said it wasn't much different to seawater.
Right.
And that was their real trouble. And Collins, who was in charge, was aware that the Derwent had been found and there was an attempted settlement there, so he sent 2 men in a rowing boat to row from here all the way to Sydney, which they were lucky to survive because a ship picked them up and got approval to shift down to the Derwent. So by April they packed up and actually settled Hobart.
And in the meantime, William Buckley had taken off.
Oh, well, William Buckley, a number of convicts had tried to escape, but mostly they just died in the bush.
Buckley was the only convict who escaped and survived, but he couldn't have done so without the help of a tribe from the Wathaurong people of Victoria's Bellarine Peninsula, but more on that later.
So it was mainly the water, but it was quite a brutal spot for the settlers.
Yes, they had the whole range of Melbourne weather, from thunder, lightning, sleet, 45 degrees, bushfires on Arthur's Seat. So you can imagine living in tents. They also discovered bull ants and snakes. So it wasn't a very good settlement, very rough.
Keith knows so much about this area, including the fact that it's quite amazing it was stumbled upon by the British in the first place.
Many ships had sailed past, but the rip is so narrow, they hadn't picked it up. And it was only one of from Sydney, the governor sent a ship to explore Western Port Bay and have a look along the coast, and they noticed a rip. And so the usual, they put some men in a rowboat and said, have a look. Imagine their surprise getting through the rip to see this huge bay.
Yeah, they'd have been pretty happy with that.
Yes.
While you look at us walk for a bit, let me tell you, Keith and a host of local volunteers run the Visitors Centre, where those curious about this area's past can find a wealth of information.
Many people ask about Buckley.
Yes, they ask about Buckley, and some of them, of course, have heard of Faulkner, who was a boy here with his convict parents and later went on to be well known in the Melbourne development.
Yeah, well, he's got a couple of suburbs named after him.
Yes, that's right.
It was late in the evening of the 27th of December that Buckley and 2 other men made their escape. This would be the last time he would ever see the Collins settlement. Upon his escape, it was thought to be so unlikely that he would survive that he was considered to be almost certainly dead. If the saying that he later inspired had already been coined, they probably would have said he had Buckley's chance of survival, which of course he did, as he was Buckley, and what chance would he have, if not his own? Many years later, the colloquial phrase, "you've got Buckley's chance," was coined off the back of the Buckley legend, and is used today to signify zero to no likelihood of success. I'm back at the brewery now, and I'm hoping I've got the exact opposite chance of getting a beer, a reverse Buckley's if you will. But first, a quick chat with the head brewer Matt.
What got you into brewing in the first place?
I started in the wine industry and then I started brewing at home, and I just naturally gravitated towards brewing.
Wow, what are the sort of the positives of being a head brewer? You get a bit more freedom to make decisions and...
You get to oversee, you get to manage, you get to adjust recipes, design recipes, lead the beers towards the taste and flavour that you want them to be.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a core range of 6 beers, and then we do specialty beers on the side.
That's where you get to get a bit crazy.
A bit more creative.
Yeah. Do you have a wild dream beer that you hope to get to one day?
I've always thought about doing a tomato sauce beer and calling it Dead Horse.
That's great.
We could try that one on sometime.
I like the sound of that.
Tomato sauce sour.
I think we should is it too late to start that today?
Okay, I'm getting a little carried away there. Time to taste something that actually exists.
So we've had a lot of fun so far this episode, but this is probably the part I've been looking forward to the most. Finally made it up to the bar. Andy's going to pour me a couple of these fresh brews. What have we got, Andy?
So today we're going to be sampling 2 of our most popular beers, our lager and our pale ale. Then we're going to look at our IPA and our double IPA, which is a limited release beer we did. The property we're on used to belong to the Fredmans. It was Markdale, their kind of legendary racehorse training facility. So hence all of the names of the beers kind of reflect the racing industry. 6 furlongs, the pale ale being the length of the old training track that's out here. The strapper, kind of a working man's beer. The strapper in horse racing is the working man, so it all kind of ties in that way.
Yeah, nice. Box 54 for the golden ale,
Yeah, so that was Maccabi Diva's box here. So that was her box number. Probably the most famous horse to come out of here, so...
Holy moly.
Yeah, so bit of pedigree around the place, so... We try to bring that into our beers anyway.
Yeah, great.
So we'll start with the lager. Just a nice, clean, crisp beer. Easy drinking. Designed for you to be able to sit on it and enjoy it long periods of time, so... Goes down nice and easy.
Yeah. What makes it an Australian lager?
So we just use Australian malts and Australian hops in it. So
in a lot of ways, that was a dumb question, wasn't it?
No, not really. Never any dumb questions when it comes to beer.
Oh, thank God. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I can tell that this would be a popular one.
Yeah.
Sunny day, people sitting out in the beer garden. Because there's a few Australian pales and a few Australian lagers out there. And you can, I don't know why, but it tastes like Australia.
I think, yeah, anytime you got a lager, it's going to taste like Australia.
Time for a quick break while I finish this one off.
It's the beer pioneer.
Ask any bartender what the most popular Australian beer aside from lager is, and you can bet they'll say pale ale. Pale ales have been around since 1703, which in beer years is basically centuries.
So this one, we use a few specialty malts in it to really bring out some of those almost caramel, biscuity notes, which serves as a really good backbone for the dry hop that brings through a lot of fresh, citrusy, piney flavours.
Yep.
Your classic kind of pale ale notes.
Yeah, and I got given a 6-pack of this for my birthday recently.
Oh, fantastic.
And it's just what I want a pale ale to be like.
Yeah, it's really drinkable, really approachable. It's not too big. It's still got some balance to it.
It's got a bit of something.
Yeah, it's got to be something.
Sorry to get technical, but
Have to sometimes.
it's got a little something about it. Is there a reason you want to drinking with me? Is it because it's not even 10 a.m. yet?
Yeah, I'm still on the clock, so.
Okay. Rule follow. That was a little test. And you passed it. Well done. They're the big boys. They're the ones that people will line up. You're almost pouring it before they ask for it. You know what
Yeah,
they
pretty
want.
much. Yeah.
And then we move the way up here, and it gets a bit more.
Yeah, it gets a little bit more interesting up this end. So I've got a IPA here. Kind of builds on the pale ale in that it's got that similar kind of malty backbone to it, but the hop profile's much bigger. Packs more of a punch, more flavour in there, and a bit of a higher ABV as well. So it's.
And how did it get the farrier? So the farrier is the horseshoe.
Yeah, the person who shoes the horses, which is a tough, burly job. So
Shoe.
tough, burly
Shoe
beer.
horses. All right, no. Oh boy. Maybe I'll try and make a little joke there, and it was not good. I regretted it midway. Do you know that the horse's hooves, they used to have toes, and slowly it evolved, and that's the toenail is the hoof.
Yeah, right.
I learnt that a little while ago. And if it's true, what an amazing fact.
Gee, I impressed even myself with that one. Looking back, probably only myself.
Do you normally have to deal with people like me here at the bar? Is that why you moved out the back?
As well as the core range, there are always some limited release beers on offer.
So probably the granddaddy of all the beers that we've got at the moment. It's double IPA. Rather than sticking to your more traditional style hops for a double IPA, we used a hop out of the US called Lotus. It has heaps of orange and vanilla notes to it. Oh. It's almost got a bit of a pastry note to it as well. So it's a little bit different, but it's a really nice beer. Packs quite a punch, and at 8.6%, probably not quite so sessionable, but
Right.
so it's just nice orange vanilla notes, malt backbone, kind of got that orange pastry kind of vibe going about it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just the power of your words, but everything you said rings true. Malt backbone,
Yeah,
vanilla and orange notes.
yeah,
I'm getting all of that.
yeah.
But it also does not taste like it's 8.5%.
It does not taste 8.5%.
That feels
it's nice
dangerous.
and smooth.
Yeah, it's super smooth.
Yeah.
I've had a great time at St Andrews, but I can't sit around drinking beer all day. I've got a television show to make. If you're thinking, this is the type of story that should be turned into an opera, well then I'm way ahead of you. I'm catching up with Anthony, who wrote and performed an opera about William Buckley.
What brought you to writing an opera about William Buckley?
Right here. I'd come back from Europe where I'd had my singing career, settled here in Rye, not far away, and came down to visit the settlement, was fascinated by the history.
Amazing. How long did it take you to develop it and get it to performance stage?
Took us about 5 years.
Yeah.
Just let it happen, let it develop. And then I had to find a really good director. That was David Lampard was his name. He's done some work at the Adelaide Festival and elsewhere. Very good man. And he put together a really wonderful visual production of the opera there. And it was a very big job, not just composing the thing, but actually bringing it together and making it work.
Amazing. And the opera itself, how much of Buckley's life did that sort of encapsulate?
Well, I was very lucky to have Richard Cotter, who's been involved here with the Friends and has written all these marvellous books about the area. He used many of the texts, letters and diaries and so on from the period and included them in the libretto. So the libretto is very historical. And he put together a libretto for me in about 6 months. And once I had that, I could start composing.
Down your throats, it's nice to the source of gold bread, and bring back memories of plenty, and bring back memories of proud.
Start with the settlement here, talk about how it all happened, how they arrived here in 1803, how they settled in, a bit of humour and a few of the reactions to seeing snakes here for the first time, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then once that part of the opera was past, we had a couple of scenes about rum-fueled parties, and then we moved into a scene where Buckley decides to escape. And the rest of the opera is all about Buckley.
Right. Did you ever consider touring it around?
Look, I didn't want to be responsible for the hard work at my age of mounting it again. But it's there if anyone else ever wants to do it. The music's there. It's just a matter of somebody showing an interest and running with it.
The booze right down your throats. It's nice to the source of gold bread, and bring back memories.
You know, I'm not opera singer, but I do sing to myself in the car on occasions.
Under the shower.
Maybe could you give me a little little quick lesson?
So the trick with opera singing, we don't use microphones, is to find the resonances. If you go for an M hum, you can wake up these resonances. Then you go for an N hum, and the vibrations really start occurring up here, right? Then you go for an NG hum, and you bring the back of the head into the resonances, and then you're able to produce a voice which will fill any theatre.
That made me feel something. And that was you just making a sound.
That was just me making more of a noise, really, than the sound. All I've done so far is hums to find the resonance. Yeah. Then we work on the various vowels, E, A, R, O, U. And once you've got a feeling for the resonance on all those vowels, then you're away. So we've done the M, the N, and the NG. And then if you go to an E, concentrate on these frontal resonances. Okay. Very smooth. Impressive. Yeah, you picked it up very quickly.
Oh, stop it, Anthony. I can sing. Wow. That was awesome. I know it might be cheeky to ask, but would you be up for giving us a little bit?
I've got a very scratchy voice. I won't be able to give it a good impression, but I was an operatic baritone, and so I composed the role of Buckley for a baritone.
Oh, great.
So, for example, when they've arrived here, they're all tied up, and Collins comes in, and Buckley is infuriated that he should be brought to Australia in the first place. So he goes something like, I do not deserve to be here. I was arrested for stealing 2 pieces of Irish cloth worth but 8 shillings and was sent off to New South Wales.
I feel like I was just transported into the theatre.
He was transported.
He was transported as well. That's right. And that was great.
Later on, he talks a little bit about his past life. I'm a Cheshire man born of farming.
Sitting here listening to Anthony's beautiful voice, I can't help but think about how much I've already learnt, but also how much more of my journey is yet to come. I wonder what will happen next on the Beer Pioneer. Probably worth tuning in for, whatever it is, I'd say. Next time on the Beer Pioneer, I continue my journey retracing the incredible story of William Buckley as he makes his escape from Sorrento. Not to mention, I'll hit up 2 of the peninsula's hottest up-and-coming craft breweries. Best not miss it.
I'm gonna be pissed by the end of these.